In World War II, the US military faced a dire problem: secure communication. Orders and plans sent over open airwaves were constantly intercepted by the enemy. Japanese cryptographers, masters of code breaking, routinely cracked American codes, leading to ambushes and lost lives. The military tried everything: complex cipher machines, frequently changed codes, but nothing stayed secure for long. The situation was desperate. The Marines needed a code the enemy couldn't break, one that was fast, accurate, and utterly secure. It had to be something radically different, beyond the reach of conventional cryptography. The answer, they realized, might lie in a language so unique and obscure that it was virtually unknown outside a small community. This language would be their secret weapon, not forged from steel, but from words spoken for centuries in the American Southwest. The search for an unbreakable code became a top priority for the Marine Corps. They needed a method of communication that could withstand the most intense scrutiny. The code had to be something the enemy had never encountered before. It needed to be based on a language so obscure and complex that it would be virtually impossible for outsiders to learn, let alone decipher, under the pressures of war. The military needed a secret weapon, but this weapon would not be made of steel or explosives. It would be forged from words, from a language that had been spoken for centuries on the vast plains of the American Southwest, far from the prying ears of the world. The stakes could not have been higher. The solution would change the course of the war. The breakthrough came from Philip Johnston, a civil engineer who grew up on the Navajo reservation. Johnston knew Navajo, Dean Bizad, was unwritten, complex, and nearly impossible for outsiders to learn. Inspired by reports of native languages used in World War I, he proposed using Navajo as a military code. Military leaders were skeptical, but Johnston arranged a demonstration. 4 Navajo men transmitted and translated messages at lightning speed, stunning the observers. What took machines 30 minutes, the Navajo speakers did in seconds. The Marine Corps was convinced Navajo could be the foundation for an unbreakable code. There were no books or studies on Navajo, and its grammar and tones were impenetrable to non-speakers. The military gave Johnston the green light to recruit Navajo men for a pilot program. A new chapter in warfare was about to begin, written in the ancient sounds of the Dine. The code would be built not on technology but on the living knowledge of a people. The Navajo language, once overlooked, was now a vital national asset. The stage was set for the creation of a code that would baffle the enemy and save countless lives. The Marine Corps moved quickly to put this plan into action. The search for recruits began. The future of secure military communication would soon rest on the voices of the Navajo. The secret weapon was ready to be forged. The Marine Corps began recruiting on the Navajo Nation, seeking young men fluent in both Navajo and English. These recruits had to meet the tough standards of the Marines and be ready for combat. Many came from traditional backgrounds, driven by patriotism and a desire to protect their homeland. Ironically, the language they'd been punished for speaking in boarding schools was now their greatest asset. The first group, 29 men, became known as the First 29. They left their families for Camp Pendleton, not knowing the true nature of their mission. They trusted the Marine Corps and their country, embarking on a journey that would change history. These men would become the first Navajo Code Talkers. Their unique skills and cultural heritage would soon become a decisive weapon in the war. The government had once tried to erase their language. Now it would help save the nation. The First 29 were pioneers, stepping into a world that was entirely new to them. They would soon prove that their language was not only a link to their past, but a key to victory. The stage was set for their extraordinary contribution. The Code Talkers' story was just beginning. At boot camp, the Navajo recruits endured the same grueling training as every Marine. Afterward, they were taken to a secure room and told their true mission: create an unbreakable code using Navajo. The challenge was immense. Navajo had no words for modern military terms. The men invented new terms. A tank became tortoise, a bomber buzzard, a battleship whale. They built a vocabulary of over 400 military terms, each carefully chosen for clarity and memorability. To spell out names or places, they created an alphabet system, assigning Navajo words to each English letter. Multiple Navajo words were used for common letters to prevent pattern recognition. The result, a 3-tiered code, vocabulary, alphabet, and the complexity of Navajo itself. Nothing was written down, the entire system was memorized. The First 29 drilled relentlessly, achieving astonishing speed and accuracy. Their code was a masterpiece of ingenuity, blending ancient language with modern warfare. The code existed only in their minds. making it impossible for the enemy to steal. The Code Talkers were ready for battle. Their training complete, they would soon put their creation to the ultimate test. The fate of countless lives would depend on their skill and secrecy. The unbreakable code was about to enter the war. The Navajo Code Talkers stood ready. The real test came on the battlefield. Deployed to the Pacific, Code Talkers worked in pairs, one on the radio, one translating. They operated under fire, carrying heavy radios through jungles and beaches. Their job was perilous. Radio operators were prime targets. A commander's order, Attack Hill 382, became a rapid stream of Navajo code, transmitted in seconds. On the other end, another code talker instantly translated it back to English. Even complex messages like calling artillery strikes were sent securely and fast. The code was meaningless to Japanese eavesdroppers, but crystal clear to the code talkers. Before them, messages were slow and often compromised. Now, communication was instant and secure. The Code Talkers transformed battlefield coordination, saving lives and turning the tide of battle. Their voices cut through chaos, delivering clarity and hope. The Navajo Code became a vital weapon, trusted by commanders across the Pacific. The speed and security they provided were unmatched. The Code Talkers' impact was immediate and profound. The Navajo Code was never broken. Japanese cryptographers, baffled by its alien sounds and structure, made no progress. Navajo's tonal polysynthetic nature made it indecipherable to outsiders. Even if someone learned basic Navajo, the code's specialized vocabulary, like tortoise for tank, remained a mystery. Fewer than 30 non-Navajos understood the language at the war's start, and none were Japanese. The code's secrecy was so vital that code talkers were assigned bodyguards to protect them, and the code, at all costs. The Code Talkers lived with the pressure of knowing their knowledge was more valuable than their own lives. Their language, once suppressed, became a national secret weapon. The code's strength lay in its living cultural roots, not in mathematics or machines. The Code Talkers' achievement remains one of the greatest feats in military cryptography. Their unbreakable code saved countless lives and helped win the war. The secret they carried was as powerful as any weapon. Their legacy endures. The Code Talkers served in every major marine operation in the Pacific. At Iwo Jima, 6 Code Talkers sent over 800 flawless messages in the first 48 hours. Their secure instant communication was crucial to victory. Major Howard Connor declared, "Were it not for the Navajos, the Marines would never have taken Iwo Jima." Code Talkers coordinated strikes, saved lives, and kept the invasion force connected. Over 400 Navajo men served as Code Talkers by war's end. Their code gave the Marines a decisive edge in battle after battle. The story of victory in the Pacific is incomplete without them. Their voices turned the tide of war. After the war, the Code Talkers returned home in silence, their mission still classified. For decades, their story remained hidden, their heroism unrecognized. Only in 1968 was the program declassified, and the truth began to emerge. In 2001, the U.S. finally honored them with the Congressional Gold Medal. President George W. Bush praised their skill and courage in a moving ceremony. The Code Talkers, once unsung, stood proud as their nation thanked them at last. Their silent service was finally brought into the light. The recognition was long overdue. The Navajo Code Talkers' story is a testament to ingenuity, courage, and the power of cultural heritage. Their legacy reminds us that strength can come from the most unexpected places. Native Americans have served the U.S. military with distinction, often without recognition. The Code Talkers' story is now taught, celebrated, and honored across the country. Their code stands as a unique achievement in cryptography and a symbol of resilience. The echoes of their voices remind us that our greatest weapons can be words, heritage, and identity. The Code Talkers did more than win battles. They left a legacy of honor and pride. Their voices will never be silent again.